Does death send secret signs before it arrives? What really controls our fate? Today, we step into the unknown, inspired by the Twilight Zone episode, One for the Angels. In the story, a man cheats death by delaying his fate. But when death chooses an innocent child instead, the man must face the ultimate question. Can anyone truly escape what's destined? We're about to dive deep into the mysteries of death's subtle signs, fate's strange bargains, and whether destiny can ever be changed. Hello, everyone. Welcome back, or welcome if this is the first time on this channel. We are going to hop right in to question 1 for this Twilight Zone inspired episode. Question is, do we know when our time is near? As though death pays us a visit and tells us when it's time. So let us pull some cards here. Oracle is first, and then Tarot comes after for more information. So we have Don't Look Back. And that's quite the bright card there. Wants to do there, so we will do that split. And we have Bird Box. And we have Age of Aquarius, Let the Sun Shine In. Okay, and we have Radio. Okay, so with Don't Look Back, this is an epiphany. I think that somehow or another, death gives us an epiphany. So in other words, oh, I need to get this done and this done and this done. It might not be a totally straightforward message from death, but we feel something, we hear something, we sense something. And like an epiphany, it's kind of like we just know that we are going to have to return to spirit. And if you can see this card, they're like on a roadway heading into the unknown that's brilliant and bright. So I think we do know when our time is near, according to this card. For some people, the idea of it can be very, very terrifying. They would rather close their eyes and not admit to the fact that perhaps they have some kind of message coming through. Understandable, it is, because well, the idea of death is probably not what we want to have happen, but it is the natural state of things. With the Age of Aquarius, Let the Sun Shine In, usually this is a card of the past, but I think in this particular reading, I think it is not the card of the past. I believe that with the Age of Aquarius, people are going to know things more so than they ever have before. It's an opening up of the mind. It's a cosmic awakening. And I feel as though that gives power to being able to know ahead of time what is going to happen. And with Radio, it is pretty much the, well, we'll call it radio waves. Death is sending radio waves so that you can get the message that you're meant to get, if it is your time to hear it, your time for that epiphany, your time to embrace the call. And we have another one, Bites the Dust. Oh, geez, you cannot make these things up. We have The Last Samurai. Wow. And we have Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Okay, this is incredible here. Okay, so another one bites the dust. Many people, and if you look at the image on there, it's a decayed individual. I feel as though this is just a confirmation of the fact that, do we know when our time is near? This is yes. You know, we all are, and I don't want to say ashes to ashes, dust to dust, because I don't believe in that. I believe we go further. We go back to spirit. That is my belief. However, this is getting the point across. And with The Last Samurai, Tom Cruise is forced to go live with these people. He's captured, forced to go live with these people, and then he becomes one of these people. He realizes the honor in how they live, and when it comes time that their lives are threatened, he hops right in to join the battle and helps them save that honor. So when it says The Last Samurai, again, we're going to take that as another one bites the dust. It's a yes. We know when our time is near. And then with Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, it's not so much about Robin Hood in general. It's the line Prince of Thieves. Sometimes death is considered a thief. He steals our life. That is what some believe. So that's just another indication, another yes to that question. So we're going to pop into tarot here and see if tarot has anything to add. Oops. To these cards. Kind of seemed like it wasn't meant to not answer this question. No skirting around the issue here. So we have the King of Cups with Don't Look Back. And as we can see in this card, we have a spirit coming out of the cup. So I feel like this is saying that you're being told ahead of time so that you can prepare emotionally for this special call. And then we have, with Bird Box, we have the Star. And this is just saying that, again, there are some who are very much afraid of death and might wish upon a star to say, hey, please don't do this to me. But it's also showing us that we are created from stardust, so to speak. This card for me is spirit guides, it's angels, it's spirit team, it's our spirit animals, and all apart beyond the veil. So I feel as though this is saying, you're not going it alone. You really aren't. You've gotten the call, but you're not going it alone. And then we have the Five of Pentacles. This is a cosmic awakening. However, for some people, it's going to feel very chaotic, as though they have so much that they have to complete, that life is just absolute chaos. And with radio, we have King of Swords, which is the ultimate communicator. The king he knows exactly how to communicate with animals, with the unseen realm, with humans, so this is the ultimate communication with radio. Another one bites the dust. We have the Chariot. So yes, being taken up into the heavens. These large birds, they can pick up people. They're that large. At least the eagles, condors, They're very large birds, so you can imagine them coming down, picking you up, and taking you to the heavens. Last Samurai, we have the Seven of Pentacles. And this is, the seed has been planted that your time is nearly up. And Robin Hood with the Sun. Prince of Thieves. Yeah. Prince of Thieves, you think of death as dark and unfriendly and foreboding. But kind of like the song Don't Fear the Reaper, this is showing a beautiful life beyond this one. So the answer, do we know when our time is near? I think the answer is yes for most, that death does pay us a visit. So we are going to pick up these cards and move on to question 2. And I put them in here like this. Takes a little bit longer, but it also makes for better shuffled cards, so we don't get all the same ones all the time. And also, just a note, if you hear snoring in the background, which you probably have for the start of this video, that is my Chihuahua, who is enjoying a very lovely nap in front of the heater, right next to me. Yep, right next to me. And he can be quite loud in the snoring. All right, so let's move on to question 2. Who or what shapes our lives and our destiny? So let's see what the cards have to share with that. We have piano. Ghost. Ball of fire. And take the money and run. All right, so who or what shapes our lives and our destiny? So with piano, in this movie, this woman chooses to be, well, chooses not to speak. She becomes mute purposely, chooses not to speak, and instead spends her time playing the piano. I feel as though this card is saying that, well, with Ghost here also, when we are in spirit, after we've passed, when we are in spirit, as a ghost or a spirit, we take the time to decide, or we just take a little while to decide what we want to do with our lives. We just kind of spend some time in silence, maybe checking out the life that we've just lived and perhaps other lives that we've lived. And in doing so, we begin to formulate the life we plan to live. Now over here with Ball of Fire, again, I don't feel like this is a past card. I feel like this is one that says we take a look at all the times in our lives, past lives, the last life, that kind of thing, of what ignited us, what really made us passionate, And we take a look at that and we consider, in this upcoming life, once we're out of spirit, what do we want to be passionate over? She's very passionate over piano. So much so that she was okay never speaking. So passion is very, very important to our lives. Take the money and run. This is determining whether what position we're going to be in. Are we going to be poor, middle class, wealthy? Where are we going to be? That's something that we also take control of and decide how we're going to live. So then we have Demolition Man, Carry On Wayward Son, and Field of Dreams. So with Demolition Man, this is when deciding when we are going to pass. So apparently with all this planning, this is one of the plans as well. When are we going to pass? With Carry On Wayward Son, we decide on the lessons that we need to learn in the upcoming life, the life that we're about to begin. We decide which lessons we would like to learn and try to create perhaps a better version of our previous selves, more than one, because we've had more than one life. And then we build it. We find the parents, we find the place we want to live, we find what is going to be beneficial to what we've decided upon for how we're going to live, our passions, and we put it all into motion. The story or the saying behind Field of Dreams is build it and they will come. Well, build it and here you go. You're going to be born. So let's see what Tarot has to share here. So what it's determining here is that we shape our own lives before we're ever born. So with piano, we have Four of Wands. This is a very contemplative time. As I said, she made herself mute and she played the piano. But in spirit, this is the place where you take time to contemplate and look back on your lives and see what the energy of those lives was and what you want the new one to be. With Ghost, we have Seven of Swords. Might be such a thing as you have to maybe go before kind of like a committee in a way and communicate what you would like to do and why. And because there's a lot of choices out there, and with the Seven of Swords, this is you might have to defend yourself in your explanation. I don't think we can just willy-nilly go, oh, this is what I'm going to do. We might miss something. So sometimes we have to have others to communicate our plans to, and we might have to defend our reasoning. And then we have Moon. So the ball of fire was looking at the things that we're passionate about. And sometimes we don't know what we want to be passionate about. Our past lives might have covered pretty much everything you could think of to be passionate about. But in this case, perhaps you don't know. Take the money and run. We've got the Ten of Cups. So this is what is going to make you the happiest. What is going to make you feel like when life is over, when death calls to you, what is going to make you feel as though you have done everything that you could possibly do to fulfill life? And interestingly, we have a full moon here and we have a full moon here. And the moon can also be an illusion. So are you going to create a life of wealth and discover that since that's all you believe in, that's what you're passionate about, that it's all an illusion. It's all been an illusion, just as an example. And we have the Page of Swords for Demolition Man. And the Page of Swords is just letting you know that a message will come when it is time for us to pass on. And actually, I do believe it's saying we get in contact with death and say, this is what we have for a time period. Can you come and remind us when it's near the time? That's the message to death. Carry on, wayward son. We have the Ace of Swords. So there's limitless potential to the lessons that we can decide to live through. It's a lot of you have to really think about it. Think hard about it and compare the lifestyle, and compare the life choices from previous lives to determine what exactly in this life you really need to learn, what you feel like you need to struggle with. What's the challenge going to be? Or challenges. This is important too. Challenges make life difficult, but is the saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger? Kind of like that. And then again, we have the Star with Field of Dreams. And this is letting us know that we don't build this by ourselves. We have help from our guides, our angels, medical team, etc., on the other side throughout this entire life. So who or what shapes our lives and our destiny? We do. We create it. We build it before we ever are born, before we're ever conceived. So let us pick up here and go to question 3. So if this is not your beliefs, that's okay. You don't have to continue watching, or you can take it with a grain of salt. Just the cards are what I'm reading, and this is what the cards are sharing. So, all right. Almost there. Oh, they want to slide. All right. There they go again. All right, so question 3. Is it possible to change our fate? So in other words, once we have created the plan, okay, that we just went over, all the logistics of what we want, can we change it after we have been born? So we have Shadow of a Doubt. That's an Alfred Hitchcock movie. All right, and we have Song of Songs. Rain of Fire. And Little Willie. Okay, so With shadow of a doubt, the question again, is it possible to change our fate? If we've already created and we've been born, can we change our fate after that? I think before we're born, we can obviously change our fate there. Okay, change up all our plans and everything. We can do it then before we are ever considered conceived. Okay, but here it says shadow of a doubt. Most of the time it's without a shadow of a doubt. So the question being, is it possible? If it said without a shadow of a doubt, then the answer would be yes. Shadow of a doubt is saying probably not. And since it's an Alfred Hitchcock movie, I'm going to say that probably good things or very unsettling things would happen should you attempt to do so. And it's saying that we chose our heart song. And that's kind of what it's based on, is when that life is being planned on the other side in spirit, we are creating the life from our heart. So you might as well say we've created our heart song. And this card is the Song of Songs. It is what we have chosen to flow by, flow with. Reign of Fire, this movie, one of my favorites, very favorites in fact. It is a movie about destruction and desolation and a constant battle until it isn't. So trying to do this is where you would probably be. And with Little Willie, I think after death in this lifetime, there would be a lot of things that would need to be healed and released before deciding to come back again. Otherwise, there would be a great deal of carryover into the next life of the things that couldn't be resolved in this one. So let's see what more we have. We have Deja Vu, Dante's Peak, and Conclusion. So with Deja Vu, it says on the card, if you thought it was just a trick of the mind, prepare yourself for the truth. And I think with Deja Vu, if you attempted, to change the fate you've created for yourself, if you attempted it, I think you would have deja vu moments, a lot of them, to try and bring you back to the understanding that you had before you were ever conceived, the agreement you made with yourself. And that deja vu might actually be being planted by your spirit guides, by your angels, to try and bring you back on track. Because, you can do whatever you want because you have free will. But there could be consequences, for sure. And with Dante's Peak, this is a beautiful town that has just won an award for the second most desired to live in town. And it ends up being destroyed by a volcano. So again, life, these two cards are pretty dire in this. And then the race is over. And you go back to starting over again. So let's see what more. And again, please excuse my Chihuahua, who is having an absolute heyday with his snoring. He wasn't snoring at all before I started. He does this a lot. So you'll be hearing him a lot on my recordings. All right, so we're going to consult tarot here and see what more we can get about this. Okay, so Lovers with Shadow of a Doubt, Alfred Hitchcock's Shadow of a Doubt. Lovers is a choice card. So it's saying here that probably not a good idea, but you do have the choice. You can certainly give it a shot. The Empress, Song of Songs. And the Empress is the ultimate creator. You are the Empress in spirit. You have created your life with the Song of Songs, the song of your heart. So this is what the universe expects. Rain of Fire, we have the Star. Okay, so you have help. You do. You even if you attempt this, your spirit guides and your angels, they're not going to abandon you just because you've used your free will here on earth. They're going to be there to help you. You may not be able to hear them or get their signs very clearly if your world is a mess, because you yourself will probably be a mess. With Little Willie, we have Four of Wands. And again, with Little Willie, this is, you'll probably spend time trying to rectify what you put yourself through in this life once you go back to spirit. So this Four of Wands, this is the energy of stability, the energy of home. So pretty much once you go home, whatever you've done here, you will work on there in spirit. Deja Vu, we have Ten of Pentacles. This is the legacy card. This is the card about life. This is the card that says you chose a certain thing. This is what life was supposed to be like. We're sending you signals to tell you what legacy you planned before you were born. Pay attention to the deja vu. And Dante's Peak, we have the High Priestess. Again, you have the knowledge. You have the knowledge of what kind of life you wanted to have. You have that knowledge tucked in there. It's kind of a mystery because it's not necessarily available to us. We have to live the life without all the knowing. And so if you start seeing signs of destruction, signs that your beautiful life is going to blow up, it might be time to take a little bit of time to consider meditation or something that can connect you up to your higher self to say, hey, am I doing something wrong? And see if you can get back on track that way. So then we have Ace of Wands with conclusion. So yes, this is going back to the drawing board pretty much. Once you're in spirit, it's the conclusion of your life and going back to the drawing board again to see what sparks you and what kind of life that you can create. It's the ultimate imagination card. Anything is possible. Okay, so it's probably not a good idea once we have that plan in place. We should probably, when we're old enough to realize things, we should probably understand that we did have a plan to start with. We've probably steered from that plan 1,000 times since we've been here. But when things are easier, and I'm not saying you don't have to work at things or anything, but when things seem easier and fall into place, you can pretty much guarantee that you're on the right track. When things are difficult and it's like one obstacle after another, you've probably gone the wrong way and might consider how you might change the path that you're on. All right, so moving on to question 4 here. Can we bargain our own life for the life of someone else? So this is saying if death comes knocking on the door of someone you know, Can you bargain your own life for them? So let's see what that says. And this comes straight from that episode 1 for the angels, the Twilight Zone episode, because when the guy figured out a way to outsmart Death, Death had to even the playing field, so he decided to take a little girl instead. So we have release. Justice. Princess Bride. And Little Willie again. Yeah. All these cards, and that can happen. Okay, so reiterating the question, can we bargain our own life for the life of someone else? First card here says release. Let go of the idea that that's possible. Because there is a balance to the universe. There's a balance. So when someone dies, someone's born. When someone's born, someone dies. There's a balance to everything. So if you would be allowed to, and you could argue the fact that, I am going to go, not them. However, there is a lot more to the plan that we learned in question 2. There's so much more to that. There's specific kinds of contracts that you have to make with certain people so that life goes a certain way. You meet certain people at certain times. You've heard the saying, in the right place at the right time. Well, that's preset. Things like that. Things that change your life. You have contracted a lot of that in spirit. And with the Princess Bride, this is kind of an example of what I was just talking about. They went their separate ways, but they came back together again because they were meant to live this life, or some of it, together, but they had to have separate experiences first. Meet certain people first before they could come back together. And there's also things that you need to live through at certain times of your life. Certain regrets maybe that you need to feel. Certain lessons you need to realize are purposeful. That kind of thing. So let's see what else it has. Shambhala. The Man in the Iron Mask, and Fear. All right, so Shambhala is the ultimate place, the ultimate understanding of a situation. Can we bargain our own life for the life of someone else? This is a world of love. It is the world that you would, like to live in, because everything would be perfect. You wouldn't have to lose that other person, and that other person wouldn't have to lose you. It would be perfect. However, Shambhala is also in the heart. So the spiritual awakening of the realization that there is a balance. There are contracts. There are things we need to go through. This is a spiritual awakening that once determined, once recognized, can't be hidden anymore. You can no longer hide behind a mask of not knowing. It's not possible. And to some degree, it's terrifying. It really is. Terrifying to think about that other person going on without you. Thinking about you without that other person. Life can be very, very fearful if you let it. So let's see what tarot has to share here. Oop. All right. All right, so we have, with release, we have the Three of Swords. And for a lot of people, the Three of Swords is a card of betrayal. You might feel betrayed, deceived, if you are unable to trade your own life for someone else's. But this is also a card of growth of knowledge. You're realizing that for whatever reason, and you might not understand it, you need to release that idea, release that thought, because there's something that you're meant to learn. So then we have King of Cups with the Justice card. And yes, this is the ultimate intuition. This is somebody who has knowledge beyond knowledge because they trust their gut. They have that inner knowing about things. So going with the growth of knowledge and the intuition, this is just something you know is not something you should do. We have the Eight of Wands with the Princess Bride. And the Eight of Wands is a card of victim, feeling as though you're a victim, as she did in Princess Bride. She became a victim. They kidnapped her. But eventually, she realized she wasn't in a cage, that she had choices, that she could escape if she chose. She had choices. She was not a victim. And this is not putting you in a victim state either. Seven of Pentacles. You planted the seed. You were a seed. You were conceived. Your life is what you planted. So you need to be able to embrace all the lessons, all the regrets, all the good things. It's definitely necessary. And hang on to life. And if you have heard the song Little Willie has his own mind. Little Willie has his own mind. And realizes he doesn't want to go home yet. He wants to live. But it says Little Willie won't go home, I believe, if I remember that song correctly. All right, and then we have, so he doesn't want to go prematurely, after all, if he's being totally honest with himself. And then Shambhala is the Six of Pentacles. And this is learning all the give and take, the harmony of life on earth and being a part of it. The spiritual awakening is one of love and understanding and realization for what life can actually offer. That's Shambhala here on earth. And the Empress, Man in the Iron Mask. Yeah, what you've created, what you've decided upon, created, worked towards. Your beautiful life. You cannot hide behind that mask. You can't pretend to be somebody else. So in essence, you cannot bargain your life for someone else. The trade won't happen. And we have Justice again with fear. Twice. So there has to be a balance. Has to be. All right, so let's pick this up and go on to question 5. There's 6 questions in this episode. I do hope you're enjoying it. I really, really like doing the readings based on, well, this particular series, Twilight Zone, because it has such unique concepts, and that's why it's Twilight Zone inspired. But if you're liking what you're seeing here, please don't hesitate to like and subscribe and perhaps even share. And I also really, really like comments. Nice ones. Okay, so moving on to question 5 here. Why aren't we allowed to know our death date our entire lives? Why don't we know, or why aren't we allowed to know when we're going to die? From the time we're born until death pays us a visit and says, hey, you asked me to tell you this. So we have teach your children. We have guidance. We have good news. And we have Hidalgo. All right. So again, question, why aren't we allowed to know our death date our entire lives? So with teach your children, we're supposed to be building a path, building our future, building our lives, okay? Using whatever wisdom that we've learned along the way from past lives, but also what is going on in our current life. And we're supposed to build our lives from that. Would we do that if we knew when we were going to pass? Would we wait, would we enjoy life like crazy and forget to create our path, forget to build our future if we knew that it didn't matter? Or if we had this much time? We also have guidance here. And with guidance, that's part of the reason when we're in spirit that we ask for our spirit guides and our angels and so forth to help guide us, keep us on the path that we've chosen. Be the lighthouse, the beacon, because we don't know how much time we're going to have. It's kind of like when we get, let's say, a diagnosis of some sort from an illness that we possibly could die from. And we get the good news. We're very happy about it, okay? We're not ready to go back to spirit, especially if we are given this chance and we're just not ready to go back to spirit yet. You know how you feel. So would it matter to you, or would this particular lesson, if you knew when you were going to die, why would you bother even to go to the doctor to get any kind of test or anything like that to see if you were going to die, right? You wouldn't need to do that. Hidalgo, one of my favorite movies. The little writing here says unbridled, unbroken, and unbeaten. This is about a horse and this man. Friends, but this man does not own this horse. But they are good together. They are so good together. Mutual respect. The horse does not mind allowing him to ride and that kind of thing. He treats the horse with respect. In this movie, they take on a challenge, a race in Saudi Arabia across the desert against thoroughbreds. And nobody thinks that they're going to make it, or that this little paint horse is, even able to do what these thoroughbreds can. They live their life fully together. They take the challenges. They go where they're led. Which, if you knew when you were going to die, would you do that? Would we take the challenges? Probably not. So we have Karate Kid, Sixth Sense, and Signs. I love these cards. Okay, so we have, with the Karate Kid, what would we have to fight for? And would we follow our minds and our hearts if we knew when we were going to die? Now, some people have a sixth sense about death. Usually not their own, perhaps other people's. But it isn't something, even if they have that, they normally don't walk around going, hey, you're going to die. No, they don't do that because they understand instinctively. They understand that there's too much at stake for that person in life, what they might wish to accomplish, for them to step in. But as has been talked about in the first question about if we know when our time is near, we will receive signs when the time comes or we're close to it. We will get signs. We just cannot know this our entire lives. So let's see what Tarot has to add. There really would probably be no point in creating a life plan in spirit, as we talked about in question 2, if we remembered the death date that we've chosen or that was decided upon by whoever. Okay, so we have King of Pentacles. This is the ultimate life. It is someone who has a life, a fantastic life. They've structured it, they've created it, they're living the life in the way that they've chosen. They've built their path, they've built their future, the ultimate life. The Emperor. So this is, the Emperor is the guidance, the spirit guides, the angels, and so forth that watch over us and protect us. One of the big responsibilities of an emperor is to watch over and protect his people. He might not actually do the fighting. He will send others out to do the fighting, but it's the point, it's the protection. It's to be protected. So if we knew our death date from the day we were born, there would be no reason for any of this. We wouldn't build a life. We just wouldn't do, we'd be out there having a good time, making sure that we were just doing everything we wanted to do instead of what we probably need to do. And then we have death, which is transformation. So good news, it would change good news. If there's nothing bad that ever happens, nothing bad takes place, then there's no point in good things. We wouldn't be able, there, so much is in there. So much is in there with just not knowing our death date. Then we have Tower. And again, in Hidalgo, they live their best life. They take the challenges. They do whatever it is to make them feel alive. It's kind of like it's the energy of life. That's what these two feel. And when the Tower comes up, it's like, if you know your death date, you're not going to do that. You're not going to live life to the fullest. It's not going to happen. And then we have Temperance with the Karate Kid. Yeah, this whole not knowing is about balance and being able to follow that heart song, build your future, build your path, whatever that is, whatever was decided upon in question 2, how you shaped your life, your destiny. 8 of Pentacles. Yeah, to those people who know things, that have that sixth sense, it's hard. They feel very tied up in knots with what they know, which is totally understandable because they really can't share this information about someone's life. Especially they don't know their own. And then we have Signs and the Hermit. So the Hermit, again, look at the light. Okay, we have the lights. The Hermit has knowledge and understands the signs when death does come, or when death is near, when it's almost time. So if we did know our death date, okay, from our entire lives, from the time we were born, there would be no reason to plan a life. There would be no reason for contracts for meeting specific people. There would be no reason to have guidance, our spirit guides, our angels. There would be no reason actually to decide to have a life other than to do crazy things that you wouldn't ordinarily do if you didn't know when you were going to die. If you knew you weren't going to die till you're 80, you might go jumping off of things. You might jump from airplanes without parachutes. You just because you know you can't die. That is providing you like pain. Yeah. So that is why we need to live the lives we've chosen. And to do that, we cannot know when our time is to go. Nor can we find out from people who have the sixth sense, because that's almost like breaking a code for them to tell. Even if they're asked point blank, it's almost like breaking a code. All right, so one more question. Okay. Question 6. Who determines how we die? Now, when we were talking about who shapes our lives and our destiny in question 2, we sent a message, or sent someone to send a message to death to say, hey, when it's our time, could you please come and give us a heads up beforehand, okay? And so that's not really saying that we're the ones who decided. Maybe someone else decides for us. And death knows, but we don't. But so who determines how we die? So we have top of the world. We have iRobot. take the money and run. And we have bus stop. So who determines how we die? The top of the world card. The very first thing here is soulmate connection. So I feel as though it is somebody in our soul family that looks over what we've planned and looks over our past lives and decides for us with our blessing, decides for us how we are going to die and probably when. Okay, same thing. When we are in spirit, this does not bother us because we know that the physical life is just a blink of an eye and that we are going to go back to spirit. Our consciousness survives. We know this. So our soulmate doesn't have an issue, or our soul family, whoever it is, doesn't have an issue with helping us with this decision. This is something that we do not have to pay them to do. And it isn't something that we can stop either. It has to be done. This is a part of the planning process. It has to be done. So we have room 1408, or just 1408, Groundhog Day, and Volcano. Some of the ways that we decide, or that we plan, that's not coming out right. Some of the ways that are planned for us are very, very unpleasant, very scary, and some are very peaceful. So it just depends. And I think what happens is they look at what we've done previously, how we've passed previously, and I've heard that you never pass away the same way twice. Okay? So it is up to this soul connection, this soul family member, to decide how horrifying things are going to be. And depending on what your life is like, because here, this will make a difference too, as to how we're going to pass. Because if we choose to be very poor, we might live somewhere where crime could be very rampant. And we might pass away from starvation, or we might get shot, or we might die from drug overdoses or anything like that. And, you know, middle class, it would be something different, and wealthy would be something different. So depending on what we decided as to where our life was going to take place is also what they have to consider when they consider what way we're meant to pass, okay? This is done over and over and over again. This soul family member chooses for you your death date and how you're going to die. You, in turn, will do the same the next time this particular soulmate family member decides to live a physical life. You will do the same for your soul family. Everyone does this for one another. So it's just Groundhog Day. It happens over and over and over again. And it's obviously a hot topic, a hot situation. It isn't something that is taken lightly. It is, I guess, a boiling cauldron. It is an erupting volcano. Because the subject of death, when you're on the physical plane, when you're living a human existence, death is something that people usually prefer not to think about. Kind of the same way as, you know, nobody wants to get burned up by a volcano. or to live through a volcano if they can help it. However, somewhere, if that's how you are meant to pass, if that's what your soul family member chose for you, you're going to live somewhere where there is a volcano and the possibility of that volcano erupting. It's going to happen. Because your life, you planned your life first, they're using that to determine how you're going to pass. So let's see what tarot says. All right, yeah. See, we have the star. And again, this is a soulmate connection. It is a guide. It is an angel. It is whoever. And this is also a soulmate card in that a soulmate is not necessarily somebody that you're meant to be with as a mate. Okay, we'll just put it that way. This can be a dear friend. It can be a dog. It's somebody that you are connected with, very, very strongly connected with. And in this case, it's coming out to say soul family, because we are in spirit at the moment. Sun. This is where the clarity lies. We know that our consciousness continues on. We have that clarity. So there isn't any qualms to doing this for one another. Hanged Man. Yeah, the perspective, this soulmate really has to take a very big look at what you've decided to live your life doing. And then, that's the perspective that they make their choice for you with. And then 10 of Wands. Yeah, there's nothing that can stop this energy. It has to happen. So they don't feel any qualms about it, but they do their job. They complete their job. It cannot be stopped. And then Temperance. They try to find a balance. Try to find, if you passed away drowning in one life, then perhaps they want you to burn in the next life, or get picked up by a tornado, or okay, so it's going to be different every time. It has to stay balanced. I don't know why exactly, but like I said, I don't think we pass away the same way twice in any lifetime. So then we have Groundhog Day with the 6 of Cups. And this is just emotional harmony. We're okay doing this for one another. We love each other. It's not anything that is a wrong thing to do. We love one another. So having that person do that for us and we do that for them, that's harmony. And then the 9 of Cups. This is the Wish card. It can also be a card of emotional turmoil in a way. Too much energy placed upon the how, which is also why we don't choose this for ourselves. Our soulmate, our soul family person that we choose knows exactly what we need because they've done their homework. They know exactly what we're going to do. And that way, no matter what we wish, they're still going to choose for us according to what we've chosen for our life before we were ever born. So that is it for this episode 2 of this Twilight inspired show. And coming up, episode 3, quick teaser, we'll step into the game of fate itself. Are we making the moves, or are we just being moved around by something else? All right, so we also have we have this Twilight Zone episode each week. We also have a Simpsons episode each week, Simpsons predictions, and there's also Fringe inspired episodes. So the schedule is put up on the screen there for you so that if you are so inclined and like either one of those as well, you can tune in. They're all at different times on different days. So that is it. I so appreciate you coming and visiting with me and joining in on this show. I do hope that you will take the time to like and subscribe and perhaps even share, comment. And I hope you have a fantastic week. Until next time, take care.